Hello, I'm Leah Griffith, and welcome to my Handcraft Your Life series, where I show you how to take beautiful crafts and integrate them into your life. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take several different paper flowers and several different greens and make this gorgeous wreath. And I love this wreath because it has that transition feel between summer and fall. It has enough of those summer flowers, late summer flowers, but yet just a touch of fall, so that we can get prepared for a new season. In this wreath, I'm featuring two flowers that are more of a fall flavor, and then this berry branch, and the flowers are the hydrangea and the dahlia. The dahlias are actually made from our paper kits, and they're all pre-cut for you. We have a full video showing you how to make them. But if you want to use your own colors, we also have the patterns, and you can find the link on how to find those below, and you can make them any way you want to. For the hydrangea, I have made so many hydrangeas in the past 7 years, but this one I'm using a new technique, so you might want to stay tuned so you can see exactly how I made that. So with the two paper flowers made out of frosted paper, all of the greenery is also one of our kits that's made out of frosted paper, plus the berry balls and the wreath. You can get all of those from our shop to make this gorgeous wreath. The paper that I used for all of the flowers and greens on this wreath are actually the frosted text weight paper, and I'm using our dahlia flower kit, and I'm using all of the dahlias out of this kit. You can find the full video on how to make this dahlia in the link below. For the greens, I'm using the Ferns and Eucalyptus kit, and I've punched everything out of this pale sage green and then this mid-tone green, and I've prepared those and curled them. I'll show you a few tips on that next. The other paper I used to make the hydrangeas is from our citrus pack, and I just used the white. I cut 4 sheets of 12 by 12 out of the white in the hydrangea shape, and you can do this on your cutting machine. You can cut it by hand, or you can even use one of our punches that cut the hydrangea petals. The other materials that I used are these cotton spun paper balls, and I used 4 packs of these. Each one has 24. For the hydrangea berries and the greenery, I used this paper covered wire. To add color to my hydrangea and my berries, I used chartreuse in the Design Master, and the berries I used chartreuse and the gold shimmer. The wreath form that I'm using today is this straw wreath form. We're trying to get away from using foam, so we think this might be just the perfect alternative because it's very sturdy, it won't break, and it will last for years. For the tools, you'll need scissors or a cutting machine, a curling tool, needle nose pliers, wire cutters, and a high temperature hot glue gun. So I have 9 dahlias already made. Now if you get our paper packs, you will get all the videos on exactly how to make those, and that link is below. I've cut the stems short because I won't need them long for this wreath. I've also prepared all of the greenery from the pack in these 2 colors. This is the sage green and then the mid-tone green. Again, I have a video on how to do that, but I have one extra trick I wanted to show you. Here's one of the pieces cut out, and as you can see, it's quite flimsy, but I still love this paper because it has that beautiful gloss on it. But another thing that you can do to add just a bit more structure is use this beautiful paper covered wire, and you can get this wire, the whole roll of this wire will last you a long time, so it's really worth buying. So I have my hot temperature glue gun here, and I'm going to run a bead of glue all the way down. Since it dries really fast and I want it to stick, and this will stick, I'm going to do one section at a time. So I'll go about a quarter of the way down, and just make for sure that you do a solid row and that you keep it right in the center. And then just press your paper covered wire right into that. The reason why I like this wire is because it's a bit softer than the other wire that we use, and it also, there's something about the paper that they use to coat it, it just works. It sticks to this frosted paper with the hot glue, and I again really do suggest that you use the high temperature. Okay, I said quarters, I actually did it in 3, so splitting this little piece into 3 and then just pressing it down. You can rub off any extra glue there. And there you go. And look at the structure now. So once I have that done, just like I show you in the other video, I'll go ahead and just add a little bit of shape using my curling tool. And the beautiful thing about the wire is even once you've shaped each little petal, once we have it on the wreath, we'll probably do more of this, you can actually shape the whole stem itself. So that looks pretty realistic. Okay, so that's the trick that I did on all the greens, and they're ready to go. Every single one of them has a wire on the back. I did not put wires on these little tiny ones. I just didn't think it needed it. They're short enough that they have enough structure. So then the next thing we'll talk about are these beautiful hydrangeas. I did a new trick for this. So if you've watched other hydrangea videos that I've taught how to make them out of this frosted paper, just ignore them. This is something different. So I've cut out all of these petals and I went ahead and curled each one and just go around like this. So they're curled like this. What I did when I was making these hydrangeas is I curled all the petals first. So I had a huge pile of petals and then I cut a bunch of strips, and I would say that's about 4 inches long out of the wire. Then I placed just a dot of glue in the center. Put the wire right on top, and then I placed another petal set on top of that, and you can see how I crisscross them. So each petal goes in between the set below. You can just pinch those really tight, and I'm telling you, this will stay strong. Then I folded up the 3 petals, so there's 2 on this side and 1 on this side. You just kind of bunch them up. I made 5 bundles, so here's one that has a lot of petals. And then here's one with less because I want to vary it throughout my wreath. So then I just bundled a bunch of them, took one of the wires. So this is actually a wire that was on one of the stems, and just wrap it around really tight. Then, once I had all my bundles done, I went outside and I made sure that everything was spread out. So I had lots of space between each of my little flower heads, I guess we can call it that. And I love the way this wire is so soft that you can just move it quickly and then it'll move back. It's almost like fabric in a way. I took my chartreuse and I just lightly sprayed it and kind of moved it around a little bit. You can still see some white on these petals, and I like that. I want to see some white. And that's exactly how I prepared these hydrangeas. Now, it takes a little bit of time to get them all curled and glued onto the stems, but not too bad. And again, because hydrangeas have such a big punch, you know, in this one head of hydrangea, there's just so much power to it visually that it's worth the time that it takes to make these. So I have 5 of these little bundles ready to go on the wreath. And then the last thing that we're going to add into this wreath are these berries. Now, I used 4 packs of these 24 count, and I'll show you exactly what I did. So simple. I think this is going to be something I'll do for Christmas for sure. So each of these paper spun balls has a little tiny hole. Some of them look like the hole's really small, but don't worry, because your little point on your hot glue gun fits right on in. Even if it's tiny, you can just put it right through that. Fill it up with glue, take one of these stems and just slide it in and let it dry. When you have all of those done, what I did with this is I gathered 3 together, and then I took a bundle of 3, there's 4 3s here, and then I just twisted them together so that we have this spray of berries, and they're all at different levels. Before you bunch them all up, go outside, take your chartreuse and spray these. These need a little bit more. You'll want to really get on each angle, maybe put some gloves on so you can spray the whole surface. And I actually like the way that this paper wire stays brown because it has that woodiness of the actual berry branch. And then once that dried, I gave it just a mist of this gold shimmer, and that brought that iridescence similar to our paper so that it kind of has this glow. And I think there's something about that iridescence. It brings a light into the berry or into the paper, so there's almost like a life inside of it, and it makes it look alive. So there's the berries. All right, now we're going to start assembling this wreath. So let's move some of these things we don't need. All we need at this point is our hot glue gun, and I would say probably a few glue sticks because we're going to go through a lot of glue. So we're gonna make this wreath really full. We want it to just look like fall abundance, but it's important that we cover up all of this straw, and the way that I'm going to do that is start with some of my larger leaves. So they're pretty flat, they're pretty stiff, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this to form around the wreath itself. We don't want to overlay them completely because we do want to be able to get in between it, so we can use the straw to hold some of our stems. These leaves are also great to put on the back when you're done. And this wreath is not going to be going in one direction. It's actually just kind of this big explosion. So don't feel like, a lot of times in my wreaths, I will kind of make this flow so that it has this spiral effect. Not this one. We're doing something different this time. There's no right or wrong, just start gluing. Of course, I will vary things, kind of move them around. I have 4 of these large leaves of each color. I think I might even want to put a couple on the back. I'm just putting a row of glue all the way down from top to bottom for some of them. Some of them I want the tips to stick out. This will be very full outside of the wreath form. The next leaf that I'm going to use is all of the leaves from the dahlia, because they are pretty big, but they're a little bit smaller than these, so I can start tucking these around. And for this, I think I'll just put glue on just the base of the leaf. You might have to kind of go back and press it down as it cools. Okay, I have to tell you, I have a hard time not going in a rotation, so I have to think to not go in a rotation. It's just sort of my natural way. Don't forget, make sure you put some on the sides, and at some point I'm going to flip it over and put some on the back as well. And you can rotate your wreath as you go to make sure you get all the different sides. At this point, I'm going to flip my wreath over and see if I can get some of this back covered, because I am going to hang this on my door, and my door has a glass window. So for the back side, I might be a little bit more thoughtful. I won't be putting flowers on the back side, so I may want to be a little more planned on how I glue these down. And I can always cut out more of these leaves and add if I don't have enough. I'm going to add some of these smaller leaves, and these are different colors, so that adds some variety. I love having that sagey blue green in here. Once you have your back covered and you feel like it will look great against the window, you can flip that back over and we'll finish putting on some more of our greens. Now I think I'm going to save these small ones for after I put on the flowers, but I'm going to put some of these larger ferns in place. You can use the hot glue directly against the straw, or you can also sort of tuck the wire inside of the straw just a little bit. One of the things that I learned really quickly when I was unpacking this wreath is don't use scissors when you're taking the plastic off, because I clipped one of these little plastic wires that holds it all together, and you don't want that to break because you'll have straw everywhere. And as we're building this wreath, we will want to, be free with making sure that there's a lot of greens that move off of the wreath. So now that I have all the biggest pieces on, I want to save these to tuck under and form as we go. We also want to make sure we have enough to cover all the straw. Next thing we'll do is we'll start adding the flowers. I'm going to start with the hydrangea because they are a bit bigger. So in order to get these to glue on, I'm actually going to bend them at a 45-degree angle. And you might want to take your wire cutters and just cut off any of these loose ends if they stick out further. Or you can also tuck those under a leaf. Give it a nice douse of glue. Try not to burn myself. I think gloves would be a good idea. Those heat-sensitive gloves. Oh, maybe some oven mitts. Right now I have my hydrangea bunched up really tight, but once it's in place, I can open it up a bit. For the hydrangeas, I'm not going to put them directly on top of the wreath, so I'm going to kind of tuck them inside and outside. That was my largest one, so let's find the second largest one, and I think I'll put it more on the inside here. Same thing, I'm just going to bend it over. Since I'll be putting it behind the leaf, I won't worry about all those extra things. glue that behind. I'm holding it in place. And then as that is cool, I'll just sort of rearrange the hydrangea. And these soft wires are so amazing. They just let me really work the flower. And look how beautiful that just lays in place. So I have 3 more, and I want to think about my placement. I don't want them all even. Maybe 2 there, 1 there. These big leaves are really fabulous for hiding all these extra parts. If you feel more comfortable, you can save some of the leaves, the larger leaves out, and put the hydrangea on first and then add the leaf over the top if that feels better for you. Or have a few extra leaves. You can always add leaves. You can also pull some of the other colors out of the pack if you need to and throw a few of those on, which maybe I'll do. Some of the other frosted paper for hydrangeas that I've made in the past, I always felt like they were a little bit fragile, the way that they were perched on top of the wire. You almost had to hope that the wire and the glue would hold. These are so strong. I almost feel like they're unbreakable. We always learn new things. We learn how to make our flowers better every year and with every version we create. I love the way these hydrangeas look. So now I want to start filling it in with all of my dahlias. And then we'll end with all of these really big, beautiful, lush wild leaves. Oh wait, of course the berries. Don't forget the berries. This is the first time I've ever used berries like this in a wreath. And I just made this up last night, so I'm super excited about using these. We'll do the berries after these. Okay, maybe mix them up. This one you can actually kind of poke right into the wreath, and then you can go underneath and add some glue. So I like that because I can arrange it first. You know, I can move things around before I actually glue it into place. Again, we want to kind of cluster some. I don't want to space everything out evenly, so it's a matter of clustering a few. I like how it kind of moves right into the side there. In fact, I think I'll do another one on this side. I'm not even sure I need to move any. I think I'm really liking the way this is laying out. There's 3, and if I add one there, that's 4, so that looks funny. The 2's okay, I don't mind that. So I'm gonna pull this one out, perfect, and we'll put this one instead. Let's put this one up here, and then this one can go over here. So we actually almost have things clustered in 3s. Now I'm going to go back and get my hot glue gun, get underneath each one of these, and just glue them into place so that they won't fall out, which they probably won't, but I just want to make for sure. All right, the next thing we'll add are these berries. There's 8 bundles of berries, and I want them to come in, I want them to go out, every which direction. We have 8 of them, so let's see where we can find a place to put them. These wires are pretty soft, so you can't actually shove these wires into the straw. You'll have to glue them on. So this is a good thing to tuck them behind. What I'm going to do is I'm taking all my extra wire and making it into a bundle. You want it pretty flat. You don't want to make it a ball, but make it a nice flat bundle. And then that flatness, that surface, is where you can put all your glue. And that will give it more surface to stick to the actual wreath itself. So for the berries, another thing that you can do if you feel like it's not strong enough, take some of your 18 gauge wire, and I'm cutting about 4 inches. And then you'll fold it and make it into almost a pin. And you can take that, I would say right at the place where your wire's starting to bend out of the wreath. And I'm just gonna push that right in to hold it like a pin. It's almost like a floral pin. This wreath has a lot of, what would I say, bite to it. So when you push those pins in, it feels really, really solid. And I love that. I'm just gonna arrange this. I wanna give it somewhat of a spray that stands up and then sort of flares off to the side. The next one, I think I'll put kind of tucking under this leaf, and then we'll have it spraying into the center. And again, you can put the glue either on the wreath itself or on the stems, either way. And then the rest of the berries, I'm going to just put them sort of on the sides around the wreath so that they spray out and you can see them sort of silhouetted around the edge. All right, I have all of the flowers, all of the berries, all of the larger leaves in place, and now I'm going to finish it out by covering all the extra little bits of the straw wreath. Also give it more shape and more of a beautiful light silhouette by having things hanging out the sides by using the rest of these greens. So let's do it. So here is the finished wreath, and I don't know, I think it's absolutely stunning. There's something really abundant about it. It's very lush, and it is ready to hang on my front door. We love to see other projects that you make with this, so be sure that when you share your photos on social, that you use #MadeWithLeah so we can follow along with you.